Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, criminal court, and other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me, my books, and blogs on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. And the books are on audio as well. And Raised by These Wolves Volume 3 will be coming out shortly in November. And I welcome you, Patrick McPartlin. He's a brand new guest. Theo Chino invited me to his Zoom hearing on November 3rd, 2025, because Pat was just asking for an attorney's oath of office and just asking if the attorney was compliant with the law. Then suddenly it just ballooned into hell. So I welcome you, Patrick McPartlin. Tell us,
Thank
how
you.
did this all evolve?
Thank you, Marianne. I appreciate you having me on. It was actually November 4th, not November 3rd.
Oh, I thought it
Um,
was third. Okay.
that's all right, just to be technical. Well, it started from just I was traveling in Burr Ridge, Illinois, training a kid in a weight room, a hockey player. I'm an ex-pro hockey player and a hockey coach a highly respected hockey coach in the Chicago area in Illinois. And I worked for USA Hockey, but I was training a kid in the Burr Ridge Lifetime Fitness to help him get a Division I scholarship, which he eventually got. But on the way back, I was just going to get some meat, and I was pulled over. I wasn't speeding. I wasn't doing anything. I guess my tags were expired, and my license was expired. So I got pulled over. I got the ticket. Yeah, all that stuff happened, and when I went to the court, it was back when they had it in Downers Grove before they moved it to Wheaton. And I get in there against this guy named Anthony J. Casale from Storino, Romello, and Durkin law firm, who happens to be the father of my niece's husband. So it's family. And I tried several times to get them to move it so there wouldn't be any problems, and he ignored me. So we go to court, and as soon as we went to court, they asked me, and I knew the judge. I coached her son in hockey too. And she asked me how I plead. And I said, well, ma'am, I can't make a plea until you tell me what law you're operating under. I need to know, is this equity? Is this, quasi judicial? What is this? And right away, the prosecutor and her just basically, like, how dare you question our authority? And they bumped that civil traffic infraction up to, she made a not guilty plea for me. She left the bench and acted as my attorney against my consent and made a not guilty plea for me, and then moved it up to criminal. And then from that, it just snowballed. It just went on. And during the case, an interesting thing happened during the case. Mr. Casale, during lunch, went up to Judge Robert Miller and showed him one of my motions. I motioned for dismissal for, pursuant to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of the Constitution, and holding me in a military tribunal without a contract. So during lunch, Mr. Casale walks up to the judge and goes, "Don't let Mr. McPartlin mention anything about Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 to the jury." And the judge granted it. And I immediately looked over at the court reporter, and she's shaking her head, "Nope, I didn't get it." And I look back at Judge Miller, and he goes, "Ha, you almost got me." And that's a true story. I mean, that's a fact. So right there, that raised the red flag. And then also during the trial, I asked Judge Miller for his oath of office. So he gets up, leaves the bench, and shows every member of the jury his oath. I go, "Thank you very much, sir. Now please have Mr. Casale do the same thing." Nothing. Mr. Casale just sat there. I said, "Your Honor, please have Mr. Casale show the jury his oath of office also." Nope, nothing. Wouldn't do it. Continued the case, found me guilty, gave me 10 days of jail for that. So then I just kept, yeah, so I just kept pursuing it. And you understand, when I was doing this, I wasn't as knowledgeable as I am now. This is about 5 years ago. So I wanted to get beat up in the process. I wanted to learn through experience. Like a good example is when I was playing hockey. I wasn't a great fighter on the ice. I lost my first few fights, but I learned what not to do and what to do. So I became a better fighter. And I hate to use a violent analogy like that because I'm a pacifist, but I did play hockey, and that's the best analogy I can come up with now.
Well, sure.
So I did get pushed around. I got beat up, but I kept learning and learning. And so I just kept pursuing. And this is turning my sister against me, my family. They think this Storino guy is like the greatest thing on earth because he was on the University of Notre Dame board.
Mm.
He's just, he funded Mayor Grasso's campaign of Burr Ridge. So Grasso would then hire his firm to do the dirty work. So all I did was I just kept pursuing. And he filed, I missed a couple of court dates, so he got me for failure to appear. And then he got me for he sent the police out to my brother's house to arrest me because I called him and asked him for his oath of office. I said, "Where's your oath of office?" And I did. I exercised my First Amendment right, and I did uh, criticize his overweightness, which maybe I shouldn't have done, but
That's
it's
probably
a fact.
something I would have done.
Well, I said it, and he played. They played for the jury, and they asked, but the jury didn't really know that, so they were that case was so rigged from the start, and I have witnesses on that one because every time I mentioned the Constitution, the prosecution would object, and the judge would sustain it. And I thought the Constitution was the supreme law of the land.
Hmm.
But so I realized what it is and what it isn't. At first, when I started this, I went in as, okay, this is how it should be,
Hmm.
and then I realized that, okay, this isn't how it is. They're following some other stuff there. They're following some other laws. But to get back to this guy Casale, he's just abused his power. He's he, he says he admitted on the stand that he doesn't need an oath of office. I've gone through the ARDC. They say he's registered, but he's been an attorney for so long. I think he registered in like 1980. So he doesn't. He admitted he doesn't have an oath, and you need one.
Yeah.
And it's just snowballed. And now what you saw, that I apologize for you sitting through that circus for 3 hours, and I do truly appreciate that. I appreciate how you want to living your day carrying your phone with your
I carried
laptop.
my phone with me while I was driving to IKEA, and I had lunch at IKEA, and I drove home, and then finally you were on.
That showed me what a true warrior you truly are, and I appreciate that. Um, so yeah, and then when they get on, they just, I mean, I didn't even know they did it so fast. They're like, so they're trying to force the public defender on me because the earlier trial had no case. I was in orange and in handcuffs. I had no choice but to take the public defender. They forced it on me. So now I'm
Oh,
like, no, I even put in motions. I put motions saying recuse yourself now. Marchese, the first judge who had this, I've been 40 to 79. I stood in front of him 79 times in the last 4 years, maybe more. And he just wanted nothing to do with. Last time I was in jail, two detectives called me down to the first floor, and they showed me this UCC1 form that I filled out to protect my ens legis, my legal person. And they go, "What is this?" I'm like, "Well, I'm just trying to protect my legal name." And they go, "Well, the judge and the prosecutors are afraid of you, and they want you out of their lives."
oh,
So I found that pretty funny. And so Marchese, he's got, so he put it back to the Chilati now. And as you can tell, she's trying to force the public defender. I mean, they're trying to have me take a psychological group. I've already taken two of those for them. Marchese made me take one because I stood up and said the Pledge of Allegiance in his courtroom.
well, it
Yeah.
shows you're a true American,
Well, yeah, this is the land of the free, home of the brave, not the land of the free, home of the afraid slave.
right?
I mean, there's too many people out there that are, so many of my friends are my family. I haven't talked to my family in 2 years. They're just do what they say. Just do what they say.
Oh,
No, 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 no. I'm not going to do what they say. They're going to do what we say. We're the people. We're their
mhm.
boss. You wonder why everything's messed up out there? And I mean, yeah, because you're afraid of it. And you go and you're going to sing the national anthem and act like you're a brave American. Go ahead, go home and go pay your property taxes without knowing any idea, without knowing any of the tax laws or reading any of the tax codes. Just go do it out of fear. Yeah. Um, so, anyways, now it's just to this point where this Casale guy from Storino or Mellon Durkin is trying to, flex his chest, like, how you're gonna mess with me? Like one of these deputies I'm becoming friends with, and they respect what I'm doing. One deputy made a comment. He goes, "You shouldn't be messing with the powerful prosecutor." And my response was the prosecutor shouldn't be messing with us powerful people. And so he's starting to kind of see things my way too, which is nice because they make sure they keep these deputies dumb. I
Mhm.
call it the 9 millimeter jurisdiction is what these courts use. I know other people call it the Smith and Wesson jurisdiction and what the Colt 44 jurisdiction or whatever. But it's important that they keep the cops ignorant. Take this man into custody. Well, I can't, Your Honor, because you violated Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. They can't have that. I'll let you get a word in here, man.
What has happened to you can happen to anyone. This is
Absolutely.
because this is just really scary because you were pulled over because granted your license had expired, your tags were, you know,
Your
off.
papers, show us your papers. It sounds like, what is this, 1939 Nazi Germany?
Yeah.
Sieg Heil.
Yeah. And now that, okay, so, the first time you were in jail, what they had you spend, was it 10 days or 30?
First one was 10. That was the roughest because it was the first time for me. And it was COVID. So I was in my cell 24 hours a day. They only let us out 1 hour, but the last couple of days, the guards realized that I was not your average inmate, and they let me out for 3 hours. But yeah, that one was, it was only 10 days. It was rough. I mean, it gets easier and easier every time, and it's not going to offend me. And I'll go back if I have to in defense of our nation, in defense of our Constitution, in defense of our freedoms. But I'm going to be compensated for every day I've been in there also.
Wow. So then this judge, oh, you had said his name, McKee.
Marchese, Marchese. I've seen him do over 1,000 cases, and not once have I heard him ever mention the Constitution because he's scared to death of me right now. I've been through almost every judge in that building, and they none of them none of them like me.
Oh, and
Well,
you're so likable.
if everybody does what I'm doing, the bar association will be out of business.
Hmm.
So I'm a
Well,
threat, and with this writ of quo warranto I got going now, I mean, it depends. We'll see. I mean, it's got to go up to the attorney general. But the law is the law. The whole thing is that when we're stuck in this administrative crap, which they don't tell us, of course, is this an administrative process or a judicial process? Most likely they'll lie and say, either they'll ignore you or they'll lie and say judicial. And are you an administrative law judge? Or what kind of judge are you? Associate judge? What, they won't tell you. Are you an administrative law judge? See, you can try hard. They make sure you don't know that. So they got you buried in this quasi judicial, which is really administrative. It has nothing to do with the law system. It's equity. They combined equity and law. That Tompkins versus Erie Railroad in 1938 led to that equity being combined with law, and how many years later, when federal the rules of federal procedure or whatever, and they're taking this equity now, and nobody. I honestly don't think. I know the attorneys don't know it, and I'm sure a few judges don't know it either. But they're using this equity stuff in a criminal court, and equity is well, I'm going to use my discretion to make an equitable, fair decision here. Yeah, they're making decisions that favor them. But
mhm.
Well, you
the
know
whole
what?
thing,
And if you don't mind, could I jump in real quick? Because this is interesting. Like right here, I don't know, because I'm sorry, I had to be on a parent teacher conference on the phone really quick. And that's why I wasn't able to jump in right away. But I missed it whether or not Mr. McPartlin told you, Maryann, how we met and where we met.
Right.
well,
How
I
did
didn't.
you meet Theo?
I'm actually there now. I'm right here now at our meeting place. We met in the pond where John the Baptist baptized Jesus. I'm kidding with that one, but
Sort of close.
it kind of feels like it for me and Theo. Um, we were just hanging. I was just here a couple of years ago working out, and I went into the hot tub, and there was just another gentleman in the hot tub standing there. Looked at each other, and we kind of looked at each other again, and kind of said, "What's up?" And then I made a comment about law, and he made a comment about family law, and then that just boom, and then from there we've just grown to have a pretty good, become pretty close, and become pretty good friends.
Right. So
Contact everything.
the reason I'm bringing this up is at the point where I had met him, I had already been through many years of the family court system, right?
Hmm.
Which is an equity court. But at the time, I didn't know any of that. Like I've been through this for years, and my family's estate had been drained of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I had talked to probably close to at least 100 people practicing law. And I'm in the water with somebody learning about the difference between maritime law and equity courts and what quasi jud. There was just so much to know that was never. I paid for hundreds of thousands of dollars of legal advice, and I'm sitting in a hot tub sitting across from a stranger who is not licensed to practice law, and I'm hearing more about the way the court system works, the way the legal system really works from this person for free. with just our swim trunks on than those clowns that I paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to for air quotes legal advice and legal representation, right? And then I'm like, what? And then, when I first talked to him, I'm like, okay, this sounds crazy. This is like, I've never heard of any of this stuff before. This doesn't make any sense to me. The cognitive dissonance, right?
Hmm.
You're like, hey, I mean, when people first learned the world was round, they're like, no, 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 that's not true. We'd slide off or whatever, right? And
Hmm.
now people are going back to saying the earth is flat again. And it's like what you're used to, like, hey, this is flat ground here. This does not make sense that the earth is round. It just can't be. And now I was going through the system for years, spending, almost every dime that I could borrow, much less saved, to go through this system and play this game that these people rigged up in order to squeeze money out of families like mine. Really great target is, middle class, upper middle class, lower
Hmm.
upper class families. Those are the best ones. You can really squeeze all the juice out. There's a lot of juice to squeeze out. Anybody above that usually has their stuff locked up in a nice trust, and you really can't mess with them too much. Anybody below that, there's not a lot of juice to squeeze. But then I'm talking to Mr. McPartlin, and he's saying all these things that I'm like, I don't like, how is it that this is the first time I'm ever hearing about any of this stuff? Like, how there's different courts. There's, and I'm like, wait a minute, there's a civil court, there's a law division, then I didn't even know the difference between the domestic relations division and the law division. I thought I was going to a civil court, which technically it kind of falls under that big category, but I didn't even know that. I mean, think about that for a second. Years. I have a master's degree. I have all this time to study. I have all of the intention to study and pay attention because I am 1,000% motivated, because somehow families like mine, their children get slid onto the table as bargaining chips,
Mm.
right? Somehow this happens. And I was shaking my head going, how did this all happen to people? And then I meet this guy in the hot tub. And like you said, it was almost like a John the Baptist moment. I hope we end up better than John the Baptist and
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah,
You
really.
know, we're all going to die someday, but it's like, wow, I guess while you're here, make it a memorable time and do some good, right? So
Hmm.
then he opened me up to this, and then I started reading, I started looking at, then I saw this all being like all this stuff Mr. McPartlin is quoting and talking about, they will quickly dismiss as sovereign citizen, conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat wearing, blah blah blah. And I'm like,
Fringe.
fringe, right?
Yeah.
And at one point, I remember that you were admonished not to espouse your political views to the jury. So your First Amendment right was being infringed. Well, I would say actually being squashed before you even had your trial that I got to observe part of, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like,
Well,
well, why can't this person say their religious and political beliefs? Why? Well, you'd be prejudicing the jury. It's like, okay, but when they characterize you as, this is my favorite. So, did you happen to know that everybody in the whole state of Illinois, including Mr. McPartlin, is prosecuting Mr. McPartlin? The people of the state of Illinois, who Mr. McPartlin is part of, is prosecuting and going against Mr. McPartlin. I mean, think about that for a second. If that doesn't smell like fraud in the most simple way, what does? I'm done.
yeah. Making great points there, Ted.
Well, also, you're saying that so and so is the father of the niece's nephew. One of the attorneys is the father of the niece's nephew. Isn't that an unholy alliance?
Yeah, I guess I never thought of it that way. I called him right away, Don Storino. I got along with him great. At my niece's wedding, if you look at the seating chart, I sat next to this Anthony J. Casale guy, and we had a blast. We had a great time. That's pretty funny, isn't it?
Oh,
And
and
so,
that it's a conflict of interest. It's also a form of collusion.
well, they don't look at it that way.
Right.
That's the thing. That you're right. You're absolutely right. That's how it should, but that's how it's not. As long as we're stuck in that administrative quicksand, they're going to equity us to death, so to speak. They're going to quasi us, and they're going to say, well, we're going to use our equitable discretion to make a fair decision. Well, and every time they're going to make the decision that's fair for them and not for you. Um, yeah, it's hard. It's just amazing that it got to this point. But like I said, I thought of how it should be, but it's not that way. It's this way. So what I'm doing now is I'm exhausting all my administrative remedies with this writ of quo warranto. It's a common law writ of mandamus in quo warranto. It's from like the 13th century, and I stumbled across it, and it appears to be a pretty powerful tool. And you're trying to figure out, okay, what are they going to do? How are they going to? Do they have the judge in their pocket? Is the corruption going to continue here? Is this going to also be administrative? But I'm complaining about the quasi judicial administrator. So what this actually is this is a common law writ. So technically, I'm out of the administrative quicksand, and now I'm into a court of law. So all they're going to do here, the only thing Storino and Casale can do is come after me to try to find technicalities that I messed up on, because they're never going to be able to prove that they have the legal and lawful authority to prosecute or are associated with the town of Burridge at all. They're a private corporation hired by them, and it happens everywhere. And they're just trying to bully me and intimidate me from stopping this scam. And they're making big bucks off of it, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, this is what are you going to do? You've been making money off this for your whole life, and all of a sudden you got one guy coming in who's not even a lawyer, and he's challenging you. I mean, you think this firm ever had a writ of quo wish it on them before? I mean, my sister, they won't listen. They refuse to listen. I'm going to show up on November 25th, the court date of my quo warranto, and watch Don Storino do everything possible but prove authority. That's what this whole thing is about. From day one, all I've been asking is for that attorney to prove he has the legal lawful authority, and he has done everything but prove it.
So you just want this 73-year-old attorney to show his oath of
74, maybe
office.
70. He might be 77 now.
Oh, well,
He's overweight. He's got health issues. I need him to stay alive so I can put him in jail.
right. Shouldn't he just retire and enjoy his, retirement, going golfing and socializing and just chillaxing?
It's funny you say that. It's really funny that you say that, because I thought that also. And I actually I went to what started this too, where he got mad, was I went to his house and I put a copy of the U.S. Constitution in his door. And I told him to study it, and he's bound by it. And that's what he called Elmer's police and all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Well,
Continue.
and I'm going to jump in here again, because if you've ever, I didn't watch the whole movie, but there was a movie called The 12 Chairs, I think, by Mel Brooks, and it's set in communist Russia. And so it's very interesting, this quo warranto, and you're going to this person, because again, I really don't know what's really going on with Mr. McPartlin's cases, just for the record, right?
Mhm.
But I do see that he's asking them to prove that they are legitimately installed in their spots. If you watch this movie, 12 Chairs, what was going on during this movie was there was this guy running around communist Russia pretending to be the secret police, pretending to be the so-and-so of the Bolshevik Revolution, pretending to work for the prime minister or the commissar or whatever, and he's just scamming people, and he's basically like robbing people, and I think he's looking for some hidden treasure or something, and there's these 12 chairs. But think about this. There's this guy, Alphonse Fagiolo, whose work is very similar to Patrick McPartlin's. He got sucked into this. He was just a regular guy. He was a sound technician, and he made good money doing that, and his career was winding down. His parents had passed away. He was the only child. And all of a sudden, there's this sewer authority or water authority coming after what's left of his parents' estate, acting like it belongs to them because of some alleged arrears or something. And this guy just kind of goes, wait a minute. Very simple question, first of all. It's like, who are you? Right?
Mhm.
And then this person wearing a robe, sitting on a bench. Maryann, I'm sure you sat there and thought that sometimes. Like, you looked at Judge Sambrook and you're like, how did you get up there? Like, who are you? Like, I'm the judge. No, no, for real though. Like, for real, Judge Sambrook, who are you really? And when you look at all these rules about, when we're talking about conflicts of interest that need to be exposed and blah, blah, blah. Well, Mr. McPartlin mentions the bar, right? Well, what is the bar? I mean, there's all kinds of different bar associations. I belong to a bunch, right? And there's all kinds of different bar associations. The Illinois State Bar Association, that is the one that issues the licenses to practice law. The fact that everybody has to belong to that bar to be licensed to practice law. And what I'm saying is not legal advice. It's not good legal advice because there is no such thing.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I am not licensed to practice law in Illinois. But wouldn't it be true that if everyone were members of the same bar association, that that should be a conflict of interest that should be disclosed,
I
right?
agree.
Now,
I
Mr.
We're
agree.
not
It's
McPartlin,
logical.
yeah, and Mr. McPartlin, and I don't know if you went into your family's background history of what your dad used to do and all that other stuff, but he got to peek behind the curtain a lot more than most people ever would. Because a lot of people just see a police officer and they see the uniform and they're like, oh, that's officer friendly. And they see a judge wearing a robe and they're like, oh, that's the judge. You got to respect him. See the priest, right?
Mhm.
Over there up front wearing their big hat with a big cross, and you're like, okay, no, no, you got to bow your head and be silent and sit down when he tells you to sit down and stand up when he tells you to stand up. And most people just, they see these people in these costumes who may or may not be legitimate and just obey, right? And that generally is a good thing if you have good people in there who belong in there because they kind of keep chaos from erupting and they
Mhm.
give us some sort of stability in society. The problem is, what if an imposter got in there? What if I dressed up like a priest and I go into your church and you know that I'm not a priest? Why am I in there dressed up like a priest? What if I got a hold of a robe and snuck into a courtroom and sat up on that bench? Would somebody come over there and rip me down from there? Should they? Yeah, right. And it doesn't matter. It's like, hey, I'm just here to do good. I'm just going to say, I'm going to do nice things. I'm going to be a good judge. It's like, yeah, but you're not really supposed to be there. Well, why is that? Well, because you got to do this, 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 and that. And it's funny because if I just snuck in a courtroom with a robe on and I just sat up there, you know what I didn't do? I didn't do a lot of the stuff that a lot of these people need to do to be allowed to sit on that bench. And so a lot of that stuff is not good stuff,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I don't owe anybody when I'm sitting up there, when I'm the one who snuck up there. But really, why am I sitting up there if I just snuck up there? Who am I, right? Who is this guy?
Theo, about the license, I called the Illinois State Bar Association. And I asked them about their licenses. They said, we don't give licenses to anybody. So I'm like, well, what's this license that everybody's talking about? And they just were like, I don't know. We don't give licenses to anybody.
What?
So,
That's
yeah,
great. Well, the AR, so did you also contact the ARDC?
I've talked to them several times. They also act in the quasi authority. They'll do anything to protect them. So what it's also it's exhausting my administrative remedies also. Like, the only thing with that writ of quo warranto I got in that they can stop it on is that they can say, okay, you did not exhaust. There's still some administrative remedies you have to exhaust. And no, there isn't. Every time I try to appeal or anything in the administrative side, there's a fee that gets involved. It's the same stuff. So I have that down document I'm going to file today that cites Illinois law that says, this is repetitive. This proves that I've exhausted all my administrative remedies. So now I can get them in this with the common law writ of Coranto. But from my study and my history of what I'm told, they're going to try to do everything possible not to let that happen because as soon as we get them in a court of record, in a court of common law, away from the administrative quicksand,
Mhm.
we control them. And the law does exist and the Constitution is in play. We are the people. But it's the tricky part of getting out of the administrative quicksand into the court of record, into the court of common law. So I'm trying it right now. They're going to try and do everything possible to stop it because if it works, I'm going to be one hell of a popular man.
So when did you file this writ of Coranto?
It was weird. It was kind of like a spiritual thing entered me last Thursday night, and I just It almost was like it wasn't me doing it. It was somebody else who entered me spiritually
Mhm.
doing it. And then I just went ironically on Halloween. So I went to Halloween and did it then, and then I had to wait for the fee waiver because this has cost me, put me in the poorhouse basically. And so I had to wait for the fee waiver. And then I couldn't serve it there. Like we can't serve it here because they're even though this is in DuPage, their office is in Cook County. So so then they put an order of protection on me, which actually wound up being a smart move for them because it made me take extra steps to serve it to them. So then I went to Cook, and they're all like pushing me around. I'm like, hey, listen, let me remind you guys something. You guys are public servants, okay? So stop acting like public rulers. And
Mhm.
they're pretty interested in that. Like, whoa, nobody's told us that before. So then I get to the they wouldn't send it out because I didn't have the money. I didn't have proof of a fee waiver yet. So I thought there's where I messed up. The court made a mistake on this. The DuPage told me that the judge was going to make a decision on the fee waiver on the 25th, but that's not true. Later, yeah, Tuesday night, I got an email, and my fee waiver was 100% approved. Total fee waiver approved, and it's not has nothing to do with the SNAP benefits or anything. So they don't have me under any benefits where they can quasi jurisdiction me legally. So I got out, and I just got to get it to. I got to go back there today and have them timestamp it because I went back to Cook yesterday. They wouldn't send it because they forgot to file stamp it. I'm like, how do you forget to file stamp it? So I'm going to go back there today after this and have them triple check everything to make sure that everything's technically right.
Right.
File stamp it. Make sure that when I go to Cook and the podcast, I guess I can say that word.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, then I got to go all the way back from Wheaton to Maywood and apologize to them because I got in it with them a little bit and it wasn't actually their fault. It was mine. It was the DuPage who made the mistake. But I just under a lot of pressure to get this out. I just want to get this to that firm and get this started and see how
Well,
this writ of court goes and just see if the court of law, if it's a court of law, this arena law firm's in serious trouble. If it's
Mm.
a court of, if they continue with the court of equity administrative crap, I don't know how but they can't hear a common writ of Coranto in that administrative setting. It's common law. It has to be in a court of common law. And they do everything. The government, bankers spend trillions of dollars every year making sure the people do not understand the common law.
Mm.
That's the bottom line right there. They make sure that nobody knows the common law. As soon as you mention common law or challenge authority, you're one of them. He's one of them. Give him a psychological test. He's a sovereign citizen. So I'm like, okay, all right. Well, could you show me the legal definition of that term? I'm looking everywhere. I can't find it. Black's Law, Bouvier's, nowhere. I can't find any legal definition of that term. How could you call me something that doesn't exist? Secondly, please provide proof with evidence that I am this. Also, is being this sovereign citizen, which I have no association with, I'm with the education law movement, if anything, is being one of these, what's it called again? Sovereign citizen? Is that is that illegal? Because I looked, it's not illegal to challenge jurisdiction. And it's not illegal to live on the common law has not been outlawed. It's all still there. I understand it's bad for the bankers and good for the people. So that's why I can understand why you'd be like that. Like they say, tyranny is done through force and fraud. And once you expose the fraud, the only thing that's left is force. And that's basically where I'm at right now. They're scrambling. They know they're following a lie. I'm following the truth. This Judge Adi's trying to force me into taking another psychological exam. She doesn't want me to go to trial because they have nothing here. What's the jury going to say? Well, there's already one judge who said I did nothing wrong. You guys tell me this guy has to have an oath of office. I mean, he doesn't have one. That's the facts. You guys are here to determine the facts. The judge will see that the law says, the judge determines the law. He will see that the law says he needs an oath of office. And the fact of the matter is that he doesn't have one. And this is a high level crime.
so, and I would like to, I'm talking to two people right now who have been forced to stay at a state funded extended stay, right? Right, Maryann and Mr. McPartlin, both of you have been at the extended stay in your counties or your state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk like every dummy out there, every scared sucker out there, right? Well, because what happens is when they see this, they go, well, what's really going on in their brains is, oh gosh, no, that could never happen to me. And here's why. Okay, so you know what? Well, I'm never going to kill anybody. Did either of you two kill anyone?
No, no.
Okay. So you neither, Mr. McPartlin, you didn't kill anybody?
No,
No. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm never going to break any laws. Did either of you like intentionally break laws blatantly just because you feel like the law doesn't apply to you?
no, I've never
No,
broken anything.
no.
I, I've never. I'm
Right.
just they're claiming I'm breaking codes and statutes, but not once have I broken any law. I mean,
Well, wait,
it's
wait a minute. What's the difference between a code and a statute and a law, Mr. McPartlin? That's weird. It sounds like you're
yeah.
breaking laws here. Well, what is that? Most people
Well,
don't know.
I know not many people understand the definition between the word legal and lawful. Legal, a lot of people live under the legal system. Everybody does, but they're breaking the law. They don't know. They don't understand that. I mean, the lawful system is the common law. It's the common constitution. Preceding cases, Supreme Court decisions, and all that.
Okay.
Statutory law is a bunch of bills to protect their assets. Um, when you get right down to it.
Okay,
So
so
yeah,
but I mean here's my next question. Why can't you guys just get a job and just mind your own business and stop with all this nonsense about the courts?
because we're brave Americans, and brave Americans never give up. And this we're doing what we're doing is far more important than anybody who's sitting around doing that mundane 9 to 5 crap.
Right. And I
You
wasn't
know,
allowed to work. So,
yeah, this is basically our only option too.
Yeah,
So,
but
and
like why can't you just be like everybody else? What's wrong with you? Why do you have to stick out like that? You know what? That's why you're in so much trouble. I mean, this is how people talk, right?
mhm,
yep, yeah, just do what they tell you. Just do it. Just do what they say. Everything will be okay. Go to concerts. No, you see, this is our duty to do this.
right.
It's our
Oh,
duty to tell the truth. I mean, you guys are such dumbasses who even the Wizard of Oz stuck it in our face. Marianne, who pulled the curtain back?
yeah.
A little dog named Toto, because humans are too stupid to see it.
Hmm.
It took a dog to pull the curtain back. And then the next scene, they show the four characters like, oh, they still didn't believe it. And then finally they show them again. Then then it sinks in. You know, the Wizard of Oz has
So
so much to do with this.
so I've got one more question. Like if we just do everything they say, will everything just be okay?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
No.
Maryann,
Absolutely
why are
not.
you shaking your head? Well, you must have done something wrong. I mean, did you just not try to do what they told you to do?
You know, it's
Well,
funny, Ted. I used to get in trouble, Marianne. At school, I used to ask this question all the time and
oh, yeah.
got me in trouble. At history class, I'd say, yeah, when did we become friends with the British? I'm like,
Right.
yeah, war. And then we fought them again later on in the War of 1812. And then they were responsible for trying to divide our country during the Civil War. So I don't get it. All of a sudden, in 1917, we're fighting with them. Uh, when did we become friends with them? I never got the memo. When was the makeup party? When did us and the British all of a sudden, when did we say, come here, you redcoats. Come here, you inhumane, oppressive son of a bitches. We're gonna be your friends now. Come here, give us a hug. We're gonna fight with you now. When did that happen?
Or
I
did
used
it
to get in
ever
trouble.
happen?
For asking that question. Of Coralanto that I just filed, man. Yeah, they don't like people doing this. But too bad. We're the people. We're your boss.
Well, but I got another question for you. I mean, what would our society be like if everybody were like you and Maryann McPartlin?
I really don't know Marianne that well, but I'm sure she's a better person than me. Um, no, I
Oh,
just think
no.
it's a good point. There wouldn't be no debt. There would be no crap. There would be the way we were meant to live. I mean, and I'm not talking anything socialist by any means. I'm strongly against socialism. That's what we're taking on right now, in my opinion.
Mm.
And if I offend anybody with that, I'm sorry. No, I don't mean to offend anybody by that with those beliefs. Those are just my beliefs. I respect everybody's beliefs.
Well, and
Um,
you say the word socialism, and it probably means 50 different things to 50 different people, right?
it's a good place to.
So, what exactly about socialism don't you like, Mr. McPartlin? What does it mean in your head?
I mean, it's the same thing as communism, fascism, all that stuff in my head. It's just a certain group of people dominating. It's they like to talk about how we're a democracy. Every time I hear that word, somebody saying, "Oh, we have to defend our democracy," that makes me want to throw up every time I hear somebody say the word democracy,
Right.
and I instantly lose. They instantly lose credibility with me as soon as they say that.
Right, because
It's yeah.
we're a
I'm sorry.
constitutional republic, correct?
That is correct, Marianne. We're as Benjamin Franklin said, if we can keep it. And obviously they've been picking away at it. And a democracy is the most sophisticated form of control by the banking system yet. And the narrative that they use in the democracy is crap, and it's all over the TV. We're a We have to keep this. We have to protect our democracy. But don't you understand, you fools? The next step from a democracy is totalitarianism. I mean, let's get back to the republic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go there.
Well, there.
Let's not
So
have
that
this mob rule.
if you study ancient history, in ancient Athens, that was like the first really serious experiment at democracy. In the first ancient democracy, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, you had to be a landowner and a free person, not a slave, because they had slaves during this supposed democracy. And you had to have fought or and still I think either been able to fight or fought for Athens. So those three things would give you the right to vote in the democracy of ancient Athens, right? Because it just means demos means the people, and krasia is like the power, right? So it's like the power goes to the people. Then you
Yeah,
have
you vote out still.
right, and then you have the Republic of ancient Rome, which kind of started off with, well, how many soldiers can you feed and provide? That's how many votes you get, right? So it's kind of a representative thing, but it's all tied to the force and power you can bring to protect the state. And then, of course, since it was all about money, eventually it got all piled up into the hands of a few people, and they needed an imperator, an order giver in times of emergency. Well, guess what? It got to the point where they were in a constant state of an emergency, and they needed the emperor to tell you whether or not it was okay to smile or not because his mother just died, right? Because that was an emergency too. And so you shouldn't smile if the emperor's mother died. And it was this whole cycle. And then in France, you had the really rich people supposedly oppressing the poor, making jokes, which I suppose was never said about, Marie Antoinette said, if they don't have bread to eat, let them eat cake. And the people became so inflamed that they had the Bastille Day and this whole mess. And it's like, oh, wow, the power's back in the hands of the people. And then it was just pure chaos again, kind of what you were talking about, right? Like this was like, liberté and all this other stuff. And all of a sudden, a little guy who really wasn't that short named
Well, you're saying,
Napoleon came by,
you're talking about the caste system or the caste A system, however you want to pronounce that word. It's
Yeah,
still involved. It's still happening today, bro. But
right.
like I was saying, it's only in the law is still decent. I mean, for the people out there who are listening to this, don't get discouraged on this stuff if you're getting caught in this administrative quicksand, because we still have a decent legal system if you can get to it.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to get to it. They're trying everything possible to keep you stuck in the administrative quicksand, like I keep saying. And it's tough.
Well,
I'm sorry, go on, Marianne.
and I was going to ask you and Maryann, like, so this administrative court, this court of equity. I mean, when you have some sort of deal you need to make with another person or a company, when you have some sort of understanding to reach with them, you could probably just reach an understanding with another person just between you and them. But when it gets a little out of line or you feel like somebody's kind of breached the agreement, where are you supposed to go? Maybe it is in this court of equity, right? And it would be nice if this court of equity just provided a nice,
You did what it was supposed
calm,
to do. It'd be nice
right,
if it did what it was supposed to do, is what you're saying. But it's not.
right,
They hoard it out. They've hoarded out for their
right.
advantage.
Right, because what you should in theory, the family courts, the any other administrative court, you should be able to walk in there, and there should be some highly educated people in regard to the law running the thing, who have sworn by a code of ethics to follow their ethics, and then to take less educated people and walk them through logical, legal, lawful solutions so that they can reach a very efficient understanding of where they're going to end up with their disagreements or whatever. And Maryann, is that what you experienced when you walked into this administrative court called the Domestic Relations Division, Family Court?
Yeah,
Military tribunal.
yeah, it's they are making up the law as they go along.
So you're saying they're being arbitrary and capricious?
They're doing it whatever they want. They're
Yeah,
not
well, that's
following
what
the
you're
law,
doing on that.
and they're
You
not
mentioned those
looking at,
two words.
oh, I'm sorry. They're not looking at evidence either.
No, they're being arbitrary and capricious. Mention those two words, especially in the court of law. So they can do whatever they want as long as they got you in the administrative quicksand. They have you under the quasi contract. It's like the Admiralty Maritime Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. It's a military tribunal, and they can't do that. And they need a international contract to perform that. But as soon as you question them on that, they fire out the sovereign citizen. Uh-oh, he's onto our shit. He's onto our
Yeah.
bullshit. You better start labeling him shit. Oh, he's crazy. He's one of the. It's yeah, it's big money though. You see, Maryann, it's big money.
Oh,
They don't care about you. They don't care about anybody. They don't care. All they care about is money. And to them, they're following the law. They're following the administrative. They're doing nothing illegal. They're doing all kinds of unlawful shit, but they're doing nothing illegal. And that's the
Well,
crazy thing.
talk to us, because you actually remind me of something, because I used to teach the U.S. Constitution to high school students. Talk to me about Marbury versus Madison. What's the difference between legal and lawful?
Again, statutes and common law. I mean, it's Marbury and Madison was where Adams was going out and Jefferson was coming in. So Adams named a bunch of his buddies, put them in positions, shit. And Madison was like, no, shit, you can't. So what it did was that it just made that Supreme Court decisions on the Supreme Law land, that and the Constitution, the Supreme Law land, the Supreme Court decisions. But I mean, to me, one of my studies I've seen, to me, the two top Americans, the top three I've seen are, I'll go top four. I got to go Madison, Jackson, Lincoln, and Kennedy. The president who got assassinated is a hero because they took on the bank. Like Lincoln going with the greenback, taking the power away from the central banks. They shot him. Kennedy going to the silver certificate, and then a couple weeks later they shot him. And the first thing Johnson did was go back to the Federal Reserve note system. It all comes down to that. I mean, you can get into Bitcoin too. So they're going to try desperately to get Bitcoin centralized and control it. But you put time limits on it. You better spend your money by now, or we're going to take it. And if you don't obey them, they'll just turn you off. That's why what me and Maryann are doing is huge. We sacrifice a lot. A lot of people don't see, like you were saying, Theo. You didn't see it. I promise you, Maryann will agree with this too. We were both in the conditioned, indoctrinated state for a large majority of our life, and we broke out of that. So we've been, and also you, Teddy, we've been in the indoctrinated conditioned side for a vast majority of our life, and then we broke out of it, and we've come to this realization of what is really going on in life. So we're on both sides. So the people that are still on the indoctrinated conditioned side, they only see one side where we see two.
mm-hmm.
Well, so and the real simple thing is I was kind of debating back and forth with a lawyer who works for King County, who helps to enforce child support, and he's part of the state's attorney's office, from what I understand. And he says, we were taught in law school that the moment you have to start quoting the Constitution, you're on the side of a losing argument. They were taught that in law school.
But without teaching them about the combining of law and equity. They all claim they know the Erie Doctrine. Yes, I'm familiar with the Erie Doctrine, which came from Tompkins versus Erie Railroad, 1938, which I believe is the most important decision, right there with Marbury and Madison. Yeah, so.
But Marbury versus Madison basically simply states that any code, any rule, any law that is repugnant to the Constitution, which is the Supreme Court law of the land, is illegal.
Yeah,
basically.
but after the Erie Doctrine and Erie versus Tompkins, in 1938. The courts will not pay attention to anything before 1938. That changed that Uniform Commercial Code basically. It didn't create it immediately. Technically, it created. They didn't officially do it till the 50s sometime, but Erie versus Tompkins, they got rid of the common law at the federal court. Here's what James Madison was a genius on this. He knew this case was going to be coming somewhere down the road. He knew that there was going to be Erie Tompkins somewhere down the road, that the bankers were going to try to get rid of common law all out. So Madison was prepared for this. So if they admitted, if that case got rid of the common law, then the bankers would have to admit that the United States is bankrupt, and that would have woken up people like my brothers and some of the people that are sleeping in the what do you call it, alert, catatonic alert state or whatever. But yeah, so then they'd have to admit the nation's bankrupt, and they can't do that. So that's where Madison thumped them. So then they had to keep the common law in there. So it's not gone. It's still there. It's more on the state level, but they just do everything possible to make sure nobody understands the common law. I mean, that's it. You're going to see them acting a little different. I guarantee you they'll do anything to avoid that. They don't want to go in there because then I told you, Ted, when a judge mentioned the Constitution and said I didn't do anything wrong, I was blown away. It was the first time I heard a judge do that. But I was also in a different courtroom. I was in a different building too, which meant that I must have been in a court of law. So, and I mean, they're also look at the Miami. Go Google when you get off this. Google an area photo of the Miami courthouse. It looks just like a ship, identical. The DuPage has all the military. It's a military tribunal. It's a military tribunal pursuant to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. And it's all there. Like, Teddy, you know everything. You know what they're doing. But now I know what they're doing too. But now I'm going to the attack, man. I'm dumping that puck in the corner for a hockey term. The puck's been in my zone this whole time, and I've been playing defensive zone coverage. They've been shooting on my goalie. Now I got the puck in their zone. Now I'm going to be shooting the puck on their goalie.
Well, so I really still don't know what the heck's going on. I am a student of history, and I look at history as it's almost like a collection of stories of different gangs, right? And people come to you and they say, you're a bad person if you don't do this. You're wrong if you do that. And you know what? This is the way we do things. And anybody who's not like us needs to be crushed. If you're not a Mongol and you don't ride on a little step pony, well, too bad. You're going to get annihilated.
It's democracy. The statutes are eating up the common law. They've taken the common law and they just codified it. They've taken the common law and put them in the statutes.
But Mr. McPartlin, the law is very complicated, and that's why we need lawyers and we need people going to law school for 20 years studying the law, and they still call it practicing law. It's like, wouldn't it be a science at some point where there is no more practice?
It's simple. They can't have people understanding the common law. If you guys were all if you and Maryann were in the courts of common law, none of it, justice would have been served. I'm telling you, people out there, I know if you're going through crap like Maryann and I went through and Teddy went through, don't get discouraged because we do have a good legal system still once you get to it. It's math. You just throw it in there. They have to follow. They're writing essays and grading the essays how they want to grade the essays. Oh, I didn't like that opinion. I'm just going to grade it that way. F.
Well, and you know what? I am going to jump in now before we run out of time. So I'm not licensed to practice law in Illinois, but I do want to let the listeners know, because I love what he said. They just kind of grade the test the way they want. One thing that the legal experts like to do is issue bills, and that's how they get paid all that money, and that's how they can afford to send their kids to expensive private schools and drive expensive foreign luxury automobiles and wear the costume that fools other people into believing that they know something that no one else could ever possibly know, because there's some special elite group of people who are just born with this inane instinct that other people could never, ever have. And so they need money to do this, to pull this all off. And it's this vicious cycle. Their bills, they issue their bills, and they're obligated to explain their bills to their clients, and they almost never do. So if anybody has paid more than a few dollars, for legal advice, and especially if that legal advice didn't turn out so great or you weren't 100% happy or satisfied with that legal advice that you paid for, go to billingassetrecovery.com and punch in just some basic contact information, nothing confidential. We don't want credit card numbers. We don't want social security numbers. We don't want birth dates or names of children like the lawyers ask you for when they ask you for your financial affidavit. We just want some basic contact information and maybe a short paragraph on why you think that you need to look into how much you were billed, because if you never stopped and went through your bill, you might be absolutely shocked when you just get a little education and a little support and coaching from the folks that help you out once you go to billingassetrecovery.com. And then you'll start to understand one of the mechanisms that they use to grab you. And I call it now, why don't we grab them by the bills?
Hey, I love that. Hey, listen, one thing that always bothers me about people on the internet that when I hear them say this shit, and people who are educated and brave know what we're doing, say it. This is not legal advice. This is after me for practicing law without a license. Bring it on. Let them come after me. Bring it. So if anybody out there has any problems with bill collectors coming at them, Maryann can tell you how to get in touch with me. I've been helping people get those scumbag predators off people's backs. I helped a couple of my buddies recently. They were going to get their wages garnished and everything. And these scumbags who have no authority to do any of that shit. So yeah, if anybody wants to come after me for practicing law without a license, bring it on.
Well, you're doing a great job, and I want to keep tracking your case. And I'd like to have you back on for an update whenever you're ready.
I appreciate that, man, and I really appreciate you showing up the case. I think I got another one on the 14th. That I don't. Did you hear the last time? Did you hear where they forwarded to? What day? They just like boom, 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 get out of here. I went into the courtroom after that, and I fired the public defender, and I kind of got in a little jaw with the judge. And I stayed on the other side of the bar. She's like, "Leave the room, Mr. McPartlin." I'm like, "No, I'm staying here." And then I just sat there and watched. It made her really uncomfortable and nervous. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what they do. I'm gonna have to include her in the writ of quo warranto also because she's refusing to check out, look at my motions. She's refusing to recuse herself. But I know we're on time limit here, and again, Maryann, I appreciate it, and I'll keep you updated on
Well,
everything we're doing.
definitely. Hey, don't jump off. Thank you for coming on. Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what's really going on in these courtrooms. I'm your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube. Please like and subscribe, Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Google, and other platforms I don't know about. Again, feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep this podcast going. Thank you, Pat McPartlin and Theo Chino for popping on today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maryann. I really appreciate you having me on.